Hello everybody and welcome back to another Doctor Who product review. In today's review I'm going to be taking a look at one of the latest action figure releases from Character Options. It is of course the Reconnaissance Dalek from the 13th Doctor era story, Resolution, the New Year's Day special. Now this is in fact the first of a brand new series of action figures that have been released alongside a 13th Doctor electronic TARDIS, and this is by far the most exciting of the set because it is a brand new sculpt and a Dalek that is very unique within Doctor Who history. This product is available to buy now. It isn't exclusive to anywhere. It is available from, I do believe, Amazon and Forbidden Planet. I have also heard that possibly B&M will be getting stock of this figure as well. Overall, for the packaging, it is in fact a rather similar design to the previously released 13th Doctor figure. However, this time round, the overall design itself has been upgraded to be a similar design to that of the B&M exclusive releases. At the top of the box, we get the BBC and the 13th Doctor logo, this time round in the white typeface, along with of course some Gallifreyan text just underneath this, which has in fact been covered up by the plastic bubble. At the very bottom it does of course state that this Dalek comes with the Dalek Mutant accessory, and it says the title of the product along with the Character Options logo. The plastic casing that the figure is housed in is ever so slightly wider compared to the other figures within the series, and it does of course give a good look at the product itself with a white background and of course a graphic of the TARDIS. On the opposite side we do also have another graphic of the TARDIS. Annoyingly does hide the back of the Dalek prop, and to be honest I would actually think it would look better if this was left absent. The back of the box follows exactly the same layout to many of the previous releases, with the Character Options company information at the bottom, the Doctor Who logo at the top, and of course TARDIS graphic at the side along with some Gallifreyan text. The back does also feature the electronic 13th Doctor sonic screwdriver. This has been re-released and I do believe has a few different colour upgrades, included more frosted plastic around the light up sections and of course an improved paint app around the crystal section. There is also the electronic TARDIS, which I have already done a review of, so I recommend checking that out if you haven't already. And then of course, most excitingly, we have the range of action figures that are also available alongside the Reconnaissance Dalek, including Captain Paul Condon from Fugitive of the Judoon, now with added mohawk, alongside Graham O'Brien as portrayed by Bradley Walsh. There is also the pink version of the 13th Doctor wearing the bum bag, and however there is also another additional variant of the 13th Doctor that is wearing the slightly lighter blue shirt along with the bum bag once again. My predictions is that this is either another figure in this wave, or it might in fact be a variant that is coming with Yaz and Ryan from the B&M sets later this year. Overall, the packaging is rather nice and stylish, and I'm glad to see the back of that yellow design that we got to see with the original 13th Doctor figure, as it did look a little bit cheesy and not really too professional looking. If you're a collector, the one downside to this box is it is a pain in the arse to get the figure back in again. As you can see, the bottom of the box is an absolute mess, so if you want a Reconnaissance Dalek to put back in its box, you're best off just buying two really, to have one opened and unopened. So here we have the Reconnaissance Dalek out of the box, and I think that it is fair to say this is one of the most adventurous Doctor Who action figures that has been released for a number of years. Naturally it is the most exciting from the current Doctor Who Series 12 wave, simply because it is pretty much the only new sculpt within the series that isn't a slight retweak of a pre-existing sculpt. Of course, overall we have seen many Daleks over the past few years, however nothing quite like this one. So starting off at the very bottom of the Reconnaissance Dalek, we have the Dalek Fender. Now this takes on a rather similar design to the later Classic Series Daleks, being divided up into two separate sections with this little groove in the very middle. Now overall the Reconnaissance Dalek has been given a rather dark brown paint application. Silver weathering design has been applied over the top to give it some texture. Overall it certainly makes the Dalek look a lot more than just a plastic sculpt, and actually looks like it has been welded together almost from many different component parts. As with any other Dalek, on the base you do of course have a series of wheels, including two at the back and of course the caster at the very front. That does of course mean that you can slide the Dalek around, very much recreating those scenes from that Doctor in the TARDIS music video, with those Daleks made out of cheap corrugated cardboard boxes. for the skirt section, this does seem to be a little bit more stumpy compared to the other Daleks, and does in fact remind me of the classic series Davros sculpt, where we do of course have a number of different hemispheres, some of which are a more regular Dalek size that are on really every other panel, and then of course on a number of different sections we do have these absolutely massive hemisphere designs. Once more, there has been a wash applied over this, especially on the hemispheres themselves, to generally overall make the Dalek once more look like it has actually been cast from metal. The weathering design does in fact seem to be rather effective and does look rather natural. The midsection of the Dalek is where it starts to get a little bit unusual and unlike all of the other Dalek designs, where we have the ending of the skirt piece along with an additional piece of plastic running around the side. There is a little bit of repetition around this, where we do have the weathered design once more printed, and then of course in the very middle we have your usual barrel section that has been designed with a series of slats running around the side. Each individual slat does have a rivet on them, both at the top and at the very bottom, much like the 2005 Daleks. However, we do have the silver paint tab that has been added over the top of this with the brown base coat. Of course, at the very middle we do also have the inclusion of the panel section with two further bits of panelling sculpted, as well as of course these sockets that do house the gun and the manipulator arm. I do really like the way that these actually protrude from the sculpt. Once again, we do have a series of different bolts running around the side, but it does very much feel like an armoured tank piece that does have weapons attached onto it, looking very cool and menacing indeed. We have the Dalek gun. This is a rather similar design to all of the other Daleks really, having this series of different fan sections around the side along with the blaster in the very middle. This has been given a silver paint tab with not really any weathering on. It's a slightly darker grey to your usual other Dalek guns, and of course as per usual it is connected to the Dalek via a ball joint. Then on the opposite side we have the manipulator arm, egg whisk, claw, who knows. It's a weird thing. It has a few different prongs at the very end, as you can see. Once more, this has been painted or sculpted in your standard silver. And then of course we have the rest of the arm itself, which is once again just a similar design painted as silver. Sadly, due to this being ever so slightly longer and more flexible compared to the Dalek gun, I have noticed quite a few of them do seem to be rather warped. Just taking mine around to the side there, as you can see, there is an ever so slight bend in the very middle, so do watch when you purchase this product in order to get one that is at least mildly straight. However, I imagine if you suspend this product in some hot water, you'll no doubt be able to bend it back into shape. Of course, in the very middle, between the two guns, we do in fact have this panel section here, actually open to reveal the inside of the Dalek itself. Currently, there is nothing in there. However, you can of course place the mutant on the inside, almost like he's about to stretch out and kill someone. Considering that it is the year 2020, it has been quite a while since Character Options have done a feature that is this creative. It almost sends me back to the time they released a 2005 Bronze Dalek with the mutant reveal. This is kind of a modern take on that, and a very cool one indeed. You can of course pose the mutant like it is about to reach out of the Dalek, almost sat on the panel, and the good thing about the Dalek itself is, due to it being a rather flexible, almost rubber, you can of course place it all the way inside the Dalek, so you can just have the tendrils exposed, almost like it is about to reach out, which can even place the entirety of the mutant on the inside to kind of remind you that although this is a big menacing tank style creature, on the inside there is a rather non-menacing looking squid. I know that if I was a kid collecting Doctor Who merchandise today, I would absolutely adore this feature, as it has a lot of play value, and I imagine the younger fans will have a lot of fun posing this Dalek next to the 13th Doctor. Much like the skirt section of the Dalek, the top half does seem to be rather stumpy in its design. So you do have the barrel section here, which this time round has been reduced to almost one neck piece as opposed to several seen on the vast majority of Daleks. Much like in between the skirt and the weaponry, we do have once again another joint piece, which does in fact make the Dalek look ever so slightly thinner, but of different ridges that run all the way around the Dalek circumference. And then of course that leads to the dome at the very top, which does seem to be a little bit higher compared to the vast majority of Daleks. In the very centre of the barrel section, there is an ever so slightly lighter paint tap of a red that does run around the centre, making it look like a light or power source is inside the Dalek casing, almost powering it, which is a cool little touch and a good attention to detail. The eye stalk reminds me of the Planet of the Daleks Supreme Dalek, where it basically had a torch stuck on the end of the eye stalk. The base colour of this is that dark silver seen on the gun as well as the manipulator arm. However, we do have a few additional sculpting details at the very end, including a ridged section around the very top of the eye stalk itself, and of course the paint application of the pupil in the very middle being a light blue. This is a rather sharp paint app with no paint leak. The dome does have the same paint application to the rest of the body of the Dalek, and we do also have the housing unit for the eye stalk, which does seem to be much bigger than the vast majority of Daleks. The plastic does of course almost come around this mid-section that is normally very small on the 2005 bronze Daleks, so it does almost alter the shape of the dome entirely. A rather unusual feature of this Dalek is you do have a hole here, meaning that the eye stalk does in fact stretch all the way up to the very top, meaning that he can look into the sky in a rather unusual manner. The bulbs on either side of the dome are also a brand new sculpt which have received a little paint tap around the base of the light itself, including a few light brown paint taps, so they nicely fade into the dome. The rest of this is of course a clear plastic, and a few different sections have been sculpted on the top of this, including a few wires at the base. The complete brand new sculpt for this Dalek has proved a good opportunity to upgrade the articulation, as this Dalek does have a number of different points that any other Dalek doesn't in fact have. So to start off with, as per usual, we do have the 360 at the dome. However, this time around it isn't actually the dome that is turning, it is the base of the barrel section, so that turns very easily a 360. And just below this we also have the weaponry section. This does also turn at 360. Now this is a really good joint to in fact pause, and once again something that this Dalek does do in the story is swivel this section all the way around, something that was also done within the Series 1 story Dalek. However, we never seen that on an action figure, so that does of course allow for some very good opportunities to pause. And then of course the rest of the Dalek is just your solid base of the wheels there at the very bottom. As per usual, and as with any other Dalek, we do have the articulation at the eye stalk, meaning that it can move up, and then of course even further to the very top it's almost a rigid joint, meaning that you can pause it at any angle that you so wish. And then of course there is the ball joints as well, which does move up and down from side to side. These do seem to be rather stiff and are in fact once again removable. Moving on to the Dalek Mutant, after briefly touching upon this earlier when we were looking at the midsection of the Dalek, it can of course be placed on the inside, and due to this it is in fact a rather flexible sculpt made out of a form of PVC, I suppose, or maybe even a rubber, so you can of course bend all the little tendrils. It is, I imagine, if you were to pull these parts it will probably snap, so don't do that. We do have some rather impressive detailing and paint application on this. We have the main brain piece there, what I assume is probably the eye around there, and then of course each individual tendril has also been sculpted individually, including a few paint applications on this. As you can see around this side we have a few lighter greens and blues, and the same can be said for the opposite side as well. So overall I really do like the detailing on this, and of course the same can be said for the base. It is ever so slightly smoother, however we do still have a few paint applications around the side. Now if you have the 13th Doctor, you could of course probably pause this wrapped around her back. I don't have that figure on me currently as I am at university, however that will be a good display feature, especially given that we are seemingly going to get a number of different 13th Doctor variants over the next few months. And finally, to finish off this review, here is a comparison with the Reconnaissance Dalek alongside the newly released 13th Doctor electronic TARDIS. At the minute, both of these figures seem to be the ones that are more commonly out. I've not seen any 13th Doctors or Jadoon Captains in Forbidden Planet, so they do seem to be releasing these figures almost separately in a way. I imagine though, however, they are going to be producing more Reconnaissance Daleks than say the Graham O'Brien figure or the Jadoon, simply because it is probably going to be one of the more popular figures of the wave, therefore it would make sense to create more units. It goes along quite nice alongside the 13th Doctor Classic Series TARDIS box repaint. It will be nice to add a few more 13th Doctor era figures to this collection over the next few weeks. So overall, for the Doctor Who 13th Doctor era Reconnaissance Dalek from the New Year's Day special Resolution as created by Character Options, this is by far an incredibly worthy figure to add to your Doctor Who action figure collection. It is without a doubt one of the most exciting 5.5 action figures that has been released over the past few years, including a brand new sculpt pretty much entirely, and of course a brilliant action feature of the Mutant which can be placed inside. This is a figure that I imagine will appeal to both collectors and children. Of course, having the Mutant and being able to push it in and out will be brilliant to recreate scenes from resolution, almost like the Dalek is piecing together the different components to make the Dalek unit itself. And naturally, if you're a collector of Doctor Who merchandise, I imagine that you have got quite a large amount of Daleks over the many years, and this will be a really great figure to go alongside all those different variations, especially given that this is such a unique Dalek in design. And of course, if you're a fan of the 13th Doctor era, then this will also be a brilliant figure to display alongside the 13th Doctor and the other figures that will be on the way in the next few months. I really do hope that Character Options don't overproduce this product, as something that I have noticed with the previously released original 13th Doctor figure is that they simply made too many, and now they are really struggling to flog them in stores such as Forbidden Planet, and generally it makes it look like Doctor Who figures do not sell, when in reality the original run of 13th Doctor figures did sell out very quickly. Something also to note is the recommended retail in the local Forbidden Planet that I got this from was £12.99, so I don't know if that is going to be something across the board, but this figure may be ever so slightly more expensive compared to the other figures released within the 13th Doctor series, so it might be best ordering online. However, if you are a stickler for accuracy and colour control, then it will be best buying this figure from in store so you can check and compare to the other figures that they have in stock. So thank you very much for watching this review. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have any questions about the Reconnaissance Dalek action figure, then please do feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I do of course stay tuned on the Host Productions for brand new Doctor Who content each and every week, from audio dramas, Doctor Who Series 12, and of course products and merchandise. So thanks for watching, and I shall see you all next time. Bye for now.